Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the companion video here on the John Campea YouTube channel. What is a companion video? Well, every day on the John Campea Show and on Open Mic in the afternoon, we take some time for some live questions, but sometimes we don't have time to get to all the live questions that come in. But since I want to make sure that you guys know when you send in those live questions, they do get answered, I collect all those unanswered questions and I address them here on companion videos. So, with all that out of the way, let's start getting caught up on some of these questions, and we'll get things started with Der Wunderbar, who writes, Final Space on Netflix is hilarious. You know what? I still have not seen an episode. And I remember when that show was first coming out and they were running the trailers and the spots for it, I thought they looked hilarious. I thought they looked really funny, and I never had a chance to start watching it. It is on my binge list. I haven't started watching it yet, but it's on my binge list. I will get caught up on it, and I'm looking forward to seeing it because I've heard a couple people tell me it's really funny, so I'm looking forward to watching that. All right, next up, Dan Peckett writes, thoughts on Johnny Depp's appearance at Comic-Con? Yeah, so for those of you who don't know, Johnny Depp kind of pulled a little bit of a Tom Hiddleston Loki at Comic-Con. You remember a few years ago, Tom Hiddleston came out at Hall H on stage in his full Loki outfit and addressed the audience as Loki? It is simply one of the greatest moments in Comic-Con history. Anyway, for the Fantastic Beasts, The Crimes of Grindelwald presentation in Hall H, they did the same thing. They had all the cast out, and then out came Johnny Depp as Grindelwald, and he addressed the audience as Grindelwald. And I'll tell you what, whether you think it worked or not, I thought it was a very smart move because a lot of the narrative surrounding Fantastic Beasts has been centered, unfortunately, around Johnny Depp, his antics, the controversy around his casting, and all this kind of stuff. As they're starting to head into the home stretch of really starting to get the marketing machine going for Fantastic Beasts and all that kind of stuff, they needed to change the narrative a bit. And I think by bringing out Johnny Depp in character and get people talking about that, instead of the controversy about Johnny Depp, instead of the marriage of Johnny Depp, instead of those articles being written about Johnny Depp, instead of talking about those things, talk about this. On that level, I thought it was a really good move. And I thought it worked. And I think it's proved that it's worked because a lot of the narrative is, like, for instance, Dan, you're asking about it. Johnny Depp at Comic-Con coming out as Grindelwald, right? The idea and the point of it was to change the narrative, and it looks like they changed the narrative. So I actually thought it was a pretty smart move on their part. That Emerald Pro writes, after Avengers 4, who is a character you'd love to see enter the MCU? Mine is Mysterio, and finally it's happening. I've been begging for him since the original Spider-Man. Hydro Man would be neat. I've been asked this question a lot about who do you want to see in the MCU next? Honestly, I don't care. I really don't. Almost every major character that I really wanted to see on screen, I've seen on screen. Now, the one character that has been on screen but hasn't really had any story dedicated to them is Bishop. Not that Bishop is my all-time favorite, comic book character. And Bishop's in the X universe, but, in about a year or so, the X universe is going to be, Disney's going to take over Fox in about a year, so pretty soon that's going to be there. So Bishop is a character who has appeared on screen, right? X-Men Days of Future Past, for example. But there's never been a dedicated story to Bishop. And I think Bishop has one of the most fascinating origin and background stories of any comic book character. So while it's a little bit of a cheat because he has been in movies, he's never been the focus of anything, and I've always thought I'd love to see a Bishop movie. I really would. I just think it would be really great. All right, let's see here. Dave Aikens writes, is Anne a console gamer herself? Yep, Anne plays. Now, she's not an avid console gamer. Like me, 99% of any gaming I do on PC. I do on my computer that I have here in front of me. I'm not really a console gamer at all. I have played some console games for sure, and we've got an Xbox One and whatever, but Anne will play on the console more than I do. So I wouldn't call her a console gamer, but she certainly pulls out the Xbox One and plays games on there from time to time. Sky Amazing Guy, I like that name, writes, I wish Aquaman and Shazam would swap release dates. I don't know if I agree with you on that. I am really looking forward to seeing what they do with Aquaman. And I think it's important to come out of the gate with Aquaman. And here's why. Because Aquaman was a part of Justice League. And I personally like Justice League. It's got its problems. It's got a lot of problems. But I personally like Justice League. I went to go see it in theaters 7 times. I had a good time. I had fun with it, despite its flaws. That being said, Justice League put a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths. And I think if you're going to progress with this movie series at all, you got to come out of the gate with one of the characters associated with Justice League, in this case, Aquaman. I think you come out of the gate with your next movie being a character from Justice League to kind of reset the tone, right? To get a positive association going. And I think coming out of the gate with Aquaman is the right move. Now, I'm looking forward to seeing Shazam, especially after that trailer that they dropped at Comic-Con, which was great. But I absolutely think the best thing for DC right now is to have an Aquaman movie that's good and wins people over. I think that's important, and I think they've got it in the right order. I really do. Now, don't get me wrong. It's not like it would have been disastrous if they had Shazam coming out first, but all other things being equal, I think the smart move is to have Aquaman come out first. You know, kind of reset the expectations, clean away a little of the bad taste in some people's mouths about Justice League, because now you've got a character from there in a redemptive movie. And that's good. And then you really set the stage for Shazam, right? So I like the order in which they're doing it. I mean, look, there's no right or wrong answer here. I just personally think the way they're doing it is probably going to be the most beneficial. But that's just my opinion. Either way, we're looking forward to both of the movies. All right. The Halo Brony writes, shout up and take my money, Godzilla. You probably meant shut up. Yeah, man, look. I know a lot of people were very lukewarm on the Godzilla, the whole concept of the Godzilla movie. It's like, because the first Godzilla movie didn't blow anybody away. I liked it, but I mean, there was a lot of people who didn't like it. A bunch of people who did. The King Kong movie, Kong Skull Island, same way. I got a kick out of it. I know there's a bunch of people who had problems with it. Okay, that's fine. So, not a lot of big excitement for Godzilla 2 until that trailer came. And once that trailer dropped at Comic-Con, man, changed the narrative. And that's what really, I find Comic-Con is really becoming about big companies coming in to change the narratives on their properties. But it's effective and it works great. And I think that Godzilla trailer got a lot of people on board. And that's the job of a trailer. And I think that trailer did it and did it in spades. It's fantastic. Now, I still prefer the Shazam and Aquaman trailers, but it was right up there. I think that movie looks great, and I think a lot of people now are very excited about that movie, whereas before, maybe they didn't even care about it, and now they're excited about it. That's when a trailer's done a really good job. All right, Dave Akins writes, you a Korean film fan, The Host, Brotherhood, etc.? You know what's funny? It's funny that you mentioned The Host. I was not one of the first people to see The Host when it was first making its rounds. But I have a number of people plugged into that world, and they really said, you got to see this movie, The Host. Because they know I have a visual effects background, and they're like, at the time especially, the visual effects in this are off the charts. Just amazing. So I watched The Host, and sure enough, for those of you who know, it's this Korean monster movie. Sure enough, the effects are staggeringly good, especially when you consider the year in which that movie, because that movie came out a while ago. The effects were staggeringly good, like ridiculously good, top notch. I will admit I didn't like the movie as much as a lot of people did. I found it a little bit one note, to be honest with you. It didn't crush it for me. I think I watched it one more time after my initial viewing of it, and then I never watched it again. I didn't think it was a bad movie, but all the hype I had heard about it, it just didn't live up to it, other than the visual effects. The creature design and all that kind of stuff was great, and the visual effects were wonderful. I mean, it may sound cliche-ish, but really when I think of Korean films, the one that jumps to me is like Oldboy. And that's a little stereotypical because everybody says Oldboy, but yeah, everybody says Oldboy for a reason. So Oldboy is one that pops to my mind the most when I think about that. Let's see. CJ Adams writes, which are better, blockbusters or passion projects? Oh, that's like saying, which is better, blue or red? Which is better, apples or, I mean, there's no correct answer to that. There is neither blockbusters nor passion projects are better. Because you know what a passion project was? Dungeons and Dragons. and that was a horrible piece of garbage. You know what a big blockbuster was? Transformers The Last Night, and that was a big pile of garbage. There is no such thing as one being better than the other. There are excellent blockbusters. There are excellent passion projects. There are garbage blockbusters. There are garbage passion projects. So there is no correct answer to that. Each movie has to be evaluated on its own. It's like saying, hey, this movie was shot, I don't know, in a November. That movie was shot in a February. Which movies are better? Movies shot in November or February? Well, neither. Neither. The month of November and the month of February, neither intrinsically makes their movies better. A movie being a blockbuster or being a passion project, neither intrinsically makes their films better. There are great ones, there are garbage ones. So I would say the answer to that is neither. Honestly, that's my real true feeling of that. Like, you still got to make, whether it's a passion project or a big budget Hollywood film, you've still got to go into it and execute and make a great movie. Doesn't matter if you're passionate about it, or it doesn't matter if it's the biggest break of your career because it's a blockbuster. It doesn't matter, because after that, you got to get in there, you got to execute a great story, execute a great movie, and make it enjoyable and all that kind of stuff. And it being a passion project isn't going to help you do that. Being a big blockbuster and being the opportunity of a lifetime isn't going to make you do that. If you're a professional at your job, you're motivated to do your best no matter what, and ultimately, you get great blockbusters, you get great passion projects, you get garbage blockbusters, you get garbage passion projects. So I'm going to stick with the answer is neither, as a matter of fact. All right, let's move on. Der Wunderbar follows up with, Donnie Yen would be perfect. He was in Ip Man and Ip Man 2, and he's going to be in Ip Man 3, and he was, of course, a guardian of the Wills. I believe, I might be wrong about this. I think this question is a follow-up to a discussion we had on the show the other day about the upcoming Bruce Lee movie. There's another Bruce Lee movie coming up. And a couple of people, actually, Der Wunderbar, have mentioned Donnie Yen. The problem with Donnie Yen is this. Donnie Yen is 55 years old today. He ain't looking like he's 55 years old, but he's 55 years old. This movie, this Bruce Lee movie, is going to be revolving around the final film that he made. Bruce Lee was only 32 when he died. So, it just presents some problems to try to make a movie about a guy who was 32 with a 55, probably by the time they actually shoot this movie, with a 56-year-old actor. That's just an inherent problem. So, if, Der Wunderbar, you actually are referring to the Bruce Lee movie as the topic we were talking about the other day, as much as I love Donnie Yen, and you can put him in just about anything, but I don't know that you can take him and make him play a guy who is literally 24 years younger than he is. So that's just a little bit too big of an obstacle, to be honest with you. But other than that, I love Donnie Yen. Put him in almost anything as far as I'm concerned. That Emerald Pro writes, I don't know if you've kept up with it or not, but have you seen the Spider-Man PS4 game that's coming out? It's an older Peter and has familiar characters in different roles. The game feels like a movie. I've seen a trailer for it, and you're right, the trailer feels very cinematic, but that's what they try to do, right? With a lot of these video game commercials and trailers, they try to make them feel very cinematic, and that's a good thing. It's not a bad thing, it's a good thing. But it is what they're going for, so we shouldn't be surprised. It's a game that's going to be about gameplay, not about the story per se, but you can still put in a great story. We've seen lots of video games do that. Last of Us, Uncharted, things like God of War, on and on. But yeah, it does look good. I'm like, again, I'm not a console gamer, so it's not like I'm counting down the days, but even I gotta say, it does look pretty good. I must say, it looks really good. All right, Dave Akins writes, why are people such smartphone zombies? Annoying. Well, I'm gonna guess they're talking about, this was in reference to a topic the other day when we were talking about people using their phones in theaters. And it's frustrating to no end. I cannot help. I don't like to roll my eyes. Rolling your eyes is a really disrespectful thing under any circumstances, but I must admit I do it. When I hear somebody try to say that they need to have their cell phones available to them and on them while they're in a movie theater. Because I'm just old enough to remember when I was a young teenager, And we didn't have, not everybody had cell phones. So we all went into movie theaters without cell phones. And guess what? We all lived. We all survived. The world didn't burn down outside. We were okay. And so, look, I carry my damn phone around with me just like everybody. I got the Note 8 here. I use it. I love it. I use it all the time. Blah, 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 blah. Hey, I'm almost as addicted to it as everybody else. But I cannot help when I say, look, nobody needs to have their phones in movie theaters. I do because this. And, oh, no, I do too because of this and this. It's like, look, I say this all the time, but unless in front of your name you have the initials DR period, or unless your job title starts with the phrase Mr. President, you can go 2 hours without your cell phone. And like, I remember a while ago, there was this news story, this was years ago, it got shelved, but one of the major movie theater chains was playing around the idea of implementing a cell phone signal blocker in their theaters. Because at the time, it was a real growing concern, like amongst movie audiences, that people kept pulling out their phones and using their phones during a movie. It's incredibly annoying and incredibly distracting. Guess what? You're not important enough that you need to have your phone on during a movie. Anyway. And I remember everybody else was against it, but I was like the one guy that's like, hell yes. Hell yes. Turn on a cell phone blocker during movies. But John, what if parents are out and they have a babysitter at home and the babysitter needs to reach them? Leave the babysitter the phone number to the movie theater. Everybody gets advanced tickets now with your seat number. Just call the theater, tell the manager, I'm looking for Mr. and Mrs. Jones. They're in watching Mamma Mia 2. They're in Theater 6, row J, seats 5 and 6. And let the theater manager go and get that. If there's a big, big emergency, you can still be reached in the event of a big emergency. What Sarah Lou is going to wear to the dance tomorrow night is not a big emergency. Anyway, that makes me sound like in my day, I mean, like I got my first cell phone when I was like, I think 17, so whatever. But yeah, you're right. It's amazing how much people are cell phone zombies today. It is nuts. All right. Dave follows that up with, I wish Will Ferrell did more dramatic acting. Yeah, me too. But I'll be honest, though. Often when I talk about a comedic actor wishing they would do more dramatic acting, I'm usually talking about Adam Sandler. Because Adam Sandler's comedy has become just a dumpster fire. But his dramatic acting is world class. Like absolute world class. So I'm always wanting Adam Sandler to do more dramatic acting. The thing about Will Ferrell is, other than The House that he did with Amy Poehler, which was just terrible, I still really like Will Ferrell comedy. I still really like Will Ferrell comedy. So Will Ferrell has shown he's got some chops with dramatic acting as well. I'm forgetting the name of that one movie that we all liked. But anyway, he's shown he's got dramatic chops, but not at the same levels. Like Adam Sandler, I believe, has like Academy nominee level acting chops. I'm not being facetious. I'm not using hyperbole. I honestly believe that Adam Sandler has that level of dramatic talent, that he could be a perennial Academy Award nominee contender. I really believe that. Will Ferrell, not so much. But on top of that, I find I still really enjoy Will Ferrell's comedy. So I also find myself kind of going, hey, it would be cool if he did some more dramatic acting, but I don't ache for him to do it like I do with Adam Sandler for those reasons. But it would be cool to see him expanding his work. Now that he's getting older, he might want to actually start doing stuff like that. So I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. All right. Leo Milmet writes, why do you say Zombieland didn't make much? Budget was $23.6 million. It made $102 million. Also, great critic scores, so number 2 should be golden. Well, look, the reality is $102 million. Look, that's not a bad number for a $23.6 million. But the reality, it's still, take how much it costs to make it out of the equation. At 102 for a big feature film, that's not that much. That basically means not a lot of people saw it. You know, in a world where one film that makes almost $400 million is considered a flop, You make $100 million. I mean, it's great you only cost $23.6 million. That means you didn't lose the studio money. They didn't make that much money either, because on top of that $23 million, you got to put in about another $20 million on top that they spent on marketing. Now, at that $102 million, do you subtract about 1/3 of it that stays with the theater? So you got studios probably spent about $45 million on this movie, and they made probably about $65 million. So hey, $20 million profit. That's great. That is great. But you know, the way people talk about Zombieland, you'd think we were talking about some big hit film. It just simply wasn't. I mean, it's just that plain. It just wasn't that big of a film. And I think it was a good movie. I never thought it was a great movie, but I think it's a good movie. I'm looking forward to seeing a sequel. But the reason I say it didn't make that much is because it didn't make that much. I mean, from a financial point of view, it did okay because it was so cheap to make. But again, I mean, it's not like $300 million worth of people went out to go see it. And that $102 million, I mean, I haven't looked it up, but I believe that's the world. That's not just North American. Actually, let me just pull it up here right now quick. Zombieland box office. Yeah, worldwide it made $102.4 million. In the domestic box office, it made $75 million. I mean, we've got big movies making more than that on opening weekend. So I'm not knocking the film and saying, oh, it was a flop. I'm not. It made money for the studio. That's a win. But I'm also saying, let's not pretend like it was some big hit film. It made about $100 million. That means not a whole hell of a lot of people went out to go see it. And that's all I mean. When I say it didn't make that much, I say that because it didn't make that much. It was still enough to be profitable because it was such a small budget film, but it still doesn't change the fact that it still wasn't all that much. Now, I'm sure number 2 will do better, but I'm also sure that number 2 is going to be more expensive because guess what? Woody Harrelson's pay rate hasn't gone down. And guess what else? Emma Stone is now an Academy Award-winning actress and probably the most in-demand actress in the business right now. So the budget ain't going to go down. It's going to be a higher budget this time around, and it'll be interesting to see if it actually makes any more money. We'll have to wait and see. I'm curious to see it. Damn right I'm curious to see it. And when I say it didn't make that much money, I'm not knocking it. It's just a fact. It didn't make that much money. So anyway, that's why I say that, Leo, at any rate. Okay, next one. Comes to us from Call of Duty God, writes, just seen the trailer for Alita Battle Angel and it looks very good. Didn't know James Cameron was producing it. Oh my goodness, man. The drama behind this movie has gone on for decades. Maybe not decades, plural, but extremely long time. James Cameron has been talking about doing and directing an Alita Battle Angel film forever. Like well over 10 years. He's been talking about doing an Alita Battle Angel movie. It's great that it's happening. It sucks that he's not directing it. And you got Robert Rodriguez, who quite frankly right now is kind of hit and miss in his career. He's done some great films. He's done some terrible films. And he's on kind of a bad streak right now. Still, who knows? Also, James Cameron is wrapped up in doing not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 Avatar sequels that he is writing, producing, and directing. Don't expect James Cameron. Yeah, James Cameron's going to be on there as producer. Don't expect that he's going to be heavily involved or has been heavily involved in this Alita movie. He has not been. He might say he has been, but that's a lie. He hasn't. Just like he's got this Terminator movie that Miller's directing. Yeah, I'm sure he was involved to some degree, but don't have any delusions of grandeur that James Cameron was in the trenches with them and really heavily involved. No, he's been writing, producing, and directing 4 Avatar sequels. That's where his time's been. So yes, James Cameron is producing, but it sucks that he's not directing it. But still, the first trailer comes out, quite frankly, disappointing. And I think a lot of people wrote the movie off. But then the second trailer came out, changed the narrative. There's that phrase again, changed the narrative. The second trailer was such a step up from the first one. Such a better trailer. And I gotta tell you, it elevated me personally from going, I'll see it when it comes out, but who cares? I don't even care when it comes out now. I'll see it whenever, but whoa. Now I'm like, ooh, this looks like fun. And that's what this trailer, it is crazy how much a good trailer can change the story, right? And you're right, man. That new trailer looks great. And it's going to be really interesting come December, because there's a lot of movies coming out in that one little 1 week window. Alita Battle Angel is one of them. We're going to have to see how this all turns out. All right. CJ Adams writes, would you do a video on the history of your career? I doubt it. Nah. I mean, look, I did, here's something. I did a video years ago on, it's a 2-hour video on how to get started in YouTube, blogging, and podcasting. Just search on YouTube for John Campea getting started, all right? And you'll find it. The first, just to set up all the tips and all the stuff I talk about, to give everybody context, I do spend the first like 10, 15 minutes giving you my story so you can understand how I got started, what my journey was, and how I got to that point. That way you have that context when I'm talking about, okay, now you're getting your YouTube channel started, here's what I recommend, and blah, 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 right? So there is a bit of my story of my career up until AMC in that. Otherwise, I don't think anybody cares what the history of my career is. People don't watch me to hear me talk about my career. They watch me to hear me talk about giving some context and giving some insight on what's going on in movies. But if you want a little bit of the background, go check out that video. It should scratch that itch a little bit, CJ. All right. Casinema Reviews writes, over under 50%, Depp's issues affect Fantastic Beasts box office. We were just talking about Johnny Depp and all the distractions, if you will, surrounding him. A lot of distractions that have been quelled quite a bit since that Comic-Con appearance. I'll say this. Depp's issues will affect the Fantastic Beasts box office, but I do not believe they will significantly affect the Fantastic Beasts box office. I really don't. I think it will have an impact. Yes, there are a few people that are so turned off by Johnny Depp that they won't go. I'm sure there are a few. So yes, there will be an effect. A significant effect? I don't think so. I really don't. I think most people love the world of Harry Potter more than they don't like Johnny Depp. Therefore, they'll go. And on top of that, I really do think that Comic-Con appearance has changed a lot of the story and changed the narrative, but people aren't talking about Johnny Depp anymore. And they were. Right after Comic-Con, when Fantastic Beasts came up, people were talking about Johnny Depp, and not in the good way. Then he did that Grindelwald thing, and they're not talking about those things anymore. Now they're back to talking about Fantastic Beasts and the Crimes of Grindelwald. That's exactly where Warner Brothers wants this to be. It was a really good move. For that issue and others, an effect, yes. Significant effect? Nah, I don't think so. I could be wrong about that, but I really don't. I really don't think we're going to see any kind of a significant effect one way or the other. Let's see. Celestial, I like this name. Celestial Marmalade, great name, writes, the Aquaman trailer seemed to put more attention on the world that Aquaman inhabits rather than Aquaman himself. Do you think the character of Aquaman will be one note as he was in Justice League? Oh, I didn't think he was one note in Justice League at all. I thought they showed some depth to him. I thought they showed he has this veneer, but there's more beneath that veneer. And I think they went out of their way to do that. That one scene in particular when he's sitting on the lasso of truth, I think was a great character development scene because it showed that he maintains this tough guy veneer, but that underneath that, he's got other layers to him that he really wrestles with. And I thought for that scene, not only was that scene really funny, him sitting on the lasso of truth, I thought it was a great moment of character development for Aquaman. So I didn't find that Aquaman, maybe you found him that way, totally fine. But for me, I didn't find the Aquaman character to be one note. Here's the thing. The trailer, of course, we've met Aquaman. We've met Aquaman. He was in it. We just saw him in an entire movie in Justice League. What we haven't met before is the mythology surrounding him and the world of Atlantis that he comes from. And so, it's only logical that the trailer is going to put more attention on that. Because guess what? We were just talking about all the trailers for Godzilla. We were just talking about the trailers for Fantastic Beasts, Grimes of Grindelwald. Crimes of Grindelwald? You notice what they didn't put a lot of attention on in that trailer for Fantastic Beasts 2? Whatever the name of the character... What's the name of the main character? Hold a second. Fantastic Beasts. What is the name of the character? Damn it. Newt Scamander. That's it. Newt Scamander is the name of the character. Let me just click on the link to make sure I'm right about that. Yeah, Newt. Did you notice there's not a whole hell of a lot of Newt Scamander in the Fantastic Beasts 2 trailer? Why? Because we already know Newt. They're going to show us the new stuff. Did you notice that in Godzilla, we see some Godzilla, but a lot of the attention in the Godzilla 2 trailer is on King Ghidorah, is on Rodan, is on Mothra, is on all these other new characters, blah, blah, blah. Why? Because we already know Godzilla's there. We got Godzilla. For the sequel, you kind of promote the new stuff. So I feel like they just followed that pattern with the Aquaman trailer. You know, they gave us a lot of Aquaman, but they wanted to put a lot of the attention on the things that we have not seen before. Mantis, King Orm, Atlantis itself. That's where you got to put the attention because we already know Aquaman. Show us what the new things are that we have in store for us. And so I don't think that's unusual. I think a lot of trailers do that, talking about sequels or third films, whatever. So I'm really not surprised at all that we're doing that because just within a year, we had we just had Aquaman in a big movie. We just saw him. So yeah, show us a bit of him in his own trailer, but show us the new things that we haven't seen before to whet our appetites, you know? So that's just kind of what I think the philosophy behind that is. So I wouldn't read anything into that more than that, Celestial, to be honest with you. Again, great username, man. I love that name, Celestial Marmalade. Izzy A writes, what do you think of The Equalizer winning this weekend's box office? Because this was last weekend. It's a mixed bag, right? Because on the one hand, on its opening weekend, Equalizer 2 won the box office. Great. It still only made $35 million, which is not a tragedy, but let me just pull it up here. Equalizer 2 box office. All right. So here we go. As of right now, so the movie cost $62 million to make. Right now it's made $74 million, which that means it's losing money. Yeah, and things aren't going to get any better. It did not have a great opening. So it did make 35, made $36 million, which is not really, they wanted more than that. It wasn't great. So, yes, it came in first on its opening weekend. But the only thing it was going against was Mamma Mia 2, which was supposed to win the weekend, so it did beat that out. But I think that's more a testament of Mamma Mia 2 underperforming a little bit than anything else. So, while Equalizer 2 won the weekend, yay! They would have rather come in third place and made $45 million. I mean, that's the thing about the box office, especially opening weekend. It's great that they came in first place, but if you offered the studio, hey, Sony, you can either have first place at the box office making $36 million, or you can come in third place at the box office, but you made $45 million, which you'll take. No question. Third place with $45 million. Easy. So it's great that it won, but it doesn't change the fact that it made $35 million. Or $36 million, sorry. Doesn't change the fact. So, I mean, yay, good for it that it came in first, but I much rather would have them come in second or third and made $45, $47, $50 million. Would have been better. So, it's a double-edged sword, you know what I mean? It's a double-edged sword. Kind of mixed feelings on that. All right, next up, Izzy A writes, First Purge, Skyscraper, Dark Web, which should I see? Honestly, only one out of that's semi-watchable, and that's Skyscraper. And even Skyscraper wasn't great. Skyscraper's okay. Skyscraper's okay. It's certainly not as good as the last couple of Rock's outings, nowhere near as fun as Rampage, nowhere near as quality as Jumanji. But it's okay. Yeah, Skyscraper's okay. First Purge is not okay. Dark Web was also not okay. So out of those, easy answer for me, Skyscraper. All right, Neil Chada writes, Binge watching your show recently. Love it. Well, thank you so much, Neil. Appreciate that very much. I don't recognize your name, so you must be a new commenter. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate it, and thanks for the support, dude. All right. John Demoto writes, know you hate the whole rate the movie things, but how do you compare Fallout to action spy movies? Thanks. I'm not quite sure how to take the question, John, because that's like asking, how do you compare 22 Jump Street to comedies? Well, which comedies? No. How do you compare 22 Jump Street to comedies? So, how do you rate Fallout to action spy movies? I don't know how to answer that, John. I apologize. I'm sure you had it clear in your head what it was you were asking, but I'm not quite sure. In terms of, so let me just generalize the question. In terms of where does it fall in the hierarchy of action spy movies? I don't know. Not top 10, not top 20, but maybe, and maybe top 30. It's a very good movie. It's a great action movie. So I'd say maybe top 30 action spy movies. And because when you're talking all time, there have been a hell of a lot of action spy movies all time. So yeah, I'll say top 30. Like I said, Fallout I liked very much. I like Fallout very much. Big thumbs up from me. But to me, it's not even the best film of the franchise. To me, the best film of the franchise is still Ghost Protocol. But I know a lot of people think Fallout's the best film of the franchise. That's great. If that's what you think, awesome. I'm not going to argue with you because I think it's a great movie. But, yeah, to me, it's not even the best of the Mission Impossible movies. Like, to me, that crown still belongs to Ghost Protocol. And you know what? Rogue Nation might even be... I might give it the edge over Rogue Nation. So it might be the second best in the franchise to me. But, again, though, John, I'm not even sure what it is specifically you're asking. But I'll say, in the grand scheme of things, in the all-time pantheon of action and spy movies, I'll say it's a top 30 movie for me. That's what I'll say. Toshi Victor writes, did you see the Peppermint trailer with Jennifer Garner? Also, Henry Cavill was pretty good antagonist for Fallout. Yes, I did see the... First of all, everybody knows I got a total... Jennifer Garner is still my celebrity crush. I'm not going to... Look, just call it what it is. She still is. I love Jennifer Garner. Anyway. Saw that Peppermint trailer. Look, a lot of standard Hollywood motifs in that trailer. No doubt. A lot of very standard Hollywood motifs in that trailer. I still thought the trailer was great. For those of you who don't know, it's just like this housewife and mother. She's in a happy marriage. They've got a little girl. And then one day while at the county fair, her husband and her daughter, I don't know if it's on purpose or accidentally gunned down by a bunch of gang members or whatever, right? And the guys who did it got off. Even though they got caught, they got off because the crime lords owned the judges and owned the witnesses and all that kind of stuff, and the guys got off. So then this mom, played by Jennifer Garner, disappears. Like, disappears off the face of the earth. For 5 years she's gone, and she comes back on the 5th anniversary of the death of her husband and daughter. And what's she been doing for those 5 years? Training. And she comes back to unleash holy vengeance on the entire system that took her husband and her daughter from her. Oh, it sounds awesome to me. I think it looks great. Admittedly, again, lots of very well-used Hollywood motifs in it for sure, but I think the movie looks awesome. Granted, I got a soft spot because it's Jennifer Garner, but still, I think it looks great, and I can't wait to watch it. Let's see. Roman Spector writes, Disney is removing the Be Prepared song from the new Lion King because of Nazi references. Your thoughts? No, that's not true. First of all, they never removed Be Prepared because they never included it in the first place. I mean, I assumed going into the live action one, they would not do every single song from the movie. I just had that assumption that they wouldn't anyway. And sure enough, they're not. And one of the songs they're not doing is Be Prepared. But in the song itself, there is no Nazi references in the song. There are some Nazi visual cues in the animation, like with the goose stepping of the hyenas and all that kind of stuff, that's there, sure. But in the song itself, there's no Nazi references. So you could have done the song and just had it, you had the animation be a little bit, just had the action around the song changed a little bit. Wouldn't have been a problem. So I've seen a lot of people speculate that that's why they didn't include that song in the movie. But to me, that doesn't make any sense because the song itself has no Nazi references that I can remember. And I know the song pretty well, so I don't think there are any Nazi references in it. So I don't think that's actually true. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong, but I've never seen anything to suggest, I've never heard an official Disney person say, well, there are Nazi references in the song Be Prepared, so that's why we cut it out of the movie. I've never heard any Disney person say that. Maybe somebody did at some point and I just missed it. But as far as I know, that's just speculation on people's point. And honestly, I think it's unfounded speculation, again, because yes, while the visual element that happens during that song had some reflections of like Nazis and everything, the song itself does not. So all you would have had to do is had different action. So anyway, that's just the way I see it. But again, let me just say, I might be dead wrong about that, but that's kind of my thoughts. All right. MW77 writes, John, why do you hate space whales? Because space whales are stupid. I mean, look, again, it's all subjective, and if you like space whales, great. But since you are asking me, I will give you my opinion. My opinion is they are the most ridiculous, stupid things. There's no air in space. There's no air in space. And these space whales, this is the most ridiculous, stupid thing they did in Rebels. Just the most ridiculous, stupid thing they did in Rebels. I thought absolutely idiotic. I hated it. I hated them so much. And again, I'm not bashing on any of you. If you like them, that's great. I celebrate that you got enjoyment out of them. I thought they were idiotic. And since you're asking me, I will give you my opinion. And I thought they were absolutely awful. Devontae Brown writes, Cinemia on Twitter acknowledged an influx of new people. Yeah, Cinemia has been growing steadily. Growing steadily. Like, I think the report, I might not be remembering this 100% correctly, but I believe the numbers I saw suggested they were getting 50% growth per month, which is nutty. And I'm sure a lot of those people are people who've been abandoning MoviePass. But that is nutty kind of growth. And I'm sure they're only going to continue to grow. As MoviePass is about to go out of business. We all know it. They're going to be declaring bankruptcy within the next number of weeks or 1 or 2 months at most. And then they're going to get even more customers. So, yeah, they're definitely having a lot of growth, Devontae. Kevin Kamaki writes, so, about MoviePass, I know, right? It seems like every day we're talking about the news. The last thing I saw, MoviePass did the 250 to 1 stock combination. So while the stock was only worth 8 cents, they combined 250 shares into one share. So now each share was worth $21. If you do the math, it was about $21. If you had 250 shares, that means now you just have one, but your one share was now worth $21. So they did that last week. See, everybody? Now our stock is worth $21. Even though that's a lie, they just combined for every 250 shares, they combined it into one. Within one day, that $21 stock fell to $10 in one day. And now, 1 week later, let me just double check. Helios and Matheson stock. Now today, just 1 week later, it has dropped to 23 cents. Just 1 week ago, they combined 250 shares into one and said each stock is now worth $21. That was 1 week ago. And now that $21 stock is worth 23 cents. That is a 99.8% drop in 1 week. This company's doomed. It's absolutely doomed. And it seems like we talk about it every day, but every day there's a new development that needs to be talked about. Anyway, the Dan E. Martin train, or Man Train, Danny Man Train writes, in terms of characterization, who is the top Batman / Superman? In my opinion, it's Cavill in the beginning short of Justice League and Affleck. Hate me. Well, look, I've been asked a lot about this lately. I don't know why lately this has come up more, but Yeah, to me, Ben Affleck has given us the most true rendition of Batman. And as far as his performance go. Now, you can argue, but Batman doesn't kill people. That's fine, but that's the screenplay. That was the script. The incarnation of Batman, the performance that Ben Affleck gave us as Batman, I believe is absolutely the most true rendition of Batman we ever saw. In Batman vs. Superman, not Justice League, but in Batman vs. Superman. Christian Bale's a better actor than Ben Affleck. Michael Keaton's a better actor than Ben Affleck. But Ben Affleck has been a Batman fanatic his whole life. He knows Batman, and it showed. Because I believe his incarnation was the best. And I'll be honest with you, Henry Cavill is also my favorite Superman. But that's mostly rooted in Man of Steel than Justice League. But yeah, I think his Superman in Man of Steel is my favorite Superman we've ever had in a movie. So, I mean, a lot of people will disagree, and that's totally cool. That's the fun thing about movies. We can disagree and have different points of view. That's great. But for me, it's Affleck and Cavill. That's just my opinion at any rate. All right. Oh, and that's it. All right, guys. And that will do it for this installment of the companion video. Thank you so much for joining me, guys. Don't forget, every morning, 9 a.m., we changed it from 8:30 a.m. to 9 a.m. 9 a.m., we got the John Campea Show. Make sure you're here and check that out with us. I'm looking forward to having you guys. And every afternoon, we have a full hour of just all open chat questions that we call open mic. Make sure you join me for that as well. All right, guys, that'll do it for me for now. My name's John Campea, and until next time, bye-bye.